fellow creatures. Um, I want to review a few films that I caught via streaming on Shudder. I'm just going to do some off the cuff discussions of them and then move on to the next episode where I'll probably be doing some extreme forgotten stuff for a couple episodes. I'm going to try to go see Cronenberg's movie Crimes of the Future. I'll try hard. I can do a review of that, of course. And then eventually the Funky Forest box. So let's get on track. So the first one I want to talk about is Prisoners of the Ghostland 2021. This one's directed by Sion Sono, who I think is like the most, I don't want to say promising because he's delivered. He's, besides Takashi Miike, he is the filmmaker currently working in Japan that I kind of vibe with the most, respond most to his work and thought and just weird sensibilities. Suicide Club, I love it. It's one of my favorites. It was really powerful. I liked Tag, not all of it. Parts of it were brilliant. I liked Why Don't You Play in Hell? Strange Circus, I was a little disappointed in, but still interesting. Tokyo Vampire Hotel series, that was pretty crazy. There wasn't much to it substance-wise, but it was fun. It was pretty to look at. Beautiful costumes and sets, beautiful gore. And, you know, I've seen some of his others, and I'm kind of like blanking on them. Yeah, I'm kind of blanking on. I want to, yeah. I got to think about this. But while I do that, let me run to the restroom. I'll be right back. Okay, I am back and admitting my list of Sion Sono films that I've seen is kind of pitiful. The ones I mentioned to you before, Guilty of Romance is pretty hardcore, and Noriko's Dinner Table, which is like a prequel sequel to Suicide Club, I liked it. It's pretty disturbing. Love Exposure, it's a 4-hour tormented relationship between these two people and all these insane things they do. And I'll be real honest, I got 3 hours and 15 minutes, and one day I'll finish it. But there's a nice one called Into a Dream I like too. But there's several like Anti-Porno and a bunch of recent ones that I missed of his. So I'm going to scour YouTube and the streaming channels yet again and see what I haven't seen of his. Sometimes I foolishly get him and Kim Ki-duk confused because I tackled them at the same time when they were both kind of disturbing and eccentric and had interesting catalogs of films. So I want to talk about Prisoners of the Ghostland. Sion Sono works from a script by non-Japanese people. There is Japanese crew and cast, supporting cast, but looks like a big co-production, and it's a Shudder exclusive. It stars Nicolas Cage, Sofia Boutella, I've never heard of her, and also Bill Moseley. For some reason, Akizutaka Haraguchi has a big role, but he's billed under Nick Cassavetes, who has a very small, unimportant role. But he's Nick Cassavetes, I guess. So, basically, it's like an Escape from New York thing. You know, it's some undesignated dystopian world, samurai town, which immediately makes me think, I mean, it's a mashup of samurai films and spaghetti western tropes. And immediately I think of Takashi Miike's Sukiyaki Western Django, which when I first saw it, I was very impressed with and thought it was wild. Um, and I even tried to figure out how it kind of intersected with the Django saga because it has some clues throughout, shout outs. I even made up like a whole like kind of theory in one of my creative mythography articles um, to justify its inclusion. Um, Later, when I saw it, I felt like, see, they make all of the Japanese actors who are non-fluent in English speak their lines in English phonetically, and I don't know, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, it can be comical, it can be weird. It's just, well, it's all weird. And sometimes the excess is too much. And when I say that, I don't mean offensive or graphic. I mean like almost goofy. And Quentin Tarantino is in it. That's another minus. And his acting is better than usual, which all it means is he's barely watchable. Um, he was a big fan of Mike, and Mike was a big fan of him. That was inevitable. This would happen. And of course, he did his own Django around the same time, which is a whole nother animal. I don't want to get into, but um, you know, uh, yeah, Sukiyaki Western Django, I kind of think is almost silly, almost parodic, maybe almost self-parodying. And I kind of get this feeling with Prisoners of the Ghostland. I almost feel like it's a calling card from Sion Sono to Hollywood to say, hey, I can make a movie with Nicolas Cage and Bill Moseley, and I can have all kinds of action and explosions, stuff he does in his movies sometimes anyway. Crazy sets, beautiful production design, blood, cussing, weird, quirky characters and subplots, and a lot of attitude. And I can just kind of, and just kind of mash up all these tropes the way Mike did in Sukiyaki Western Django, or Tarantino did in Kill Bill. I may be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's just a one-off and he isn't going to continue in this direction or go to Hollywood and be completely diluted. The movie itself, it isn't very good. It's kind of entertaining in parts. Some certain things look nice in it. Visually, it's nice. Nick Cage looks tired and worn out. I said it was like Escape from New York. So in this movie, they get a brutal bank robber who's trying to for redemption, and this guy Nicolas Cage, he is put in this suit, this leather suit that has these various, it's symmetric on each side in various places of these red, glowing buttons, which are explosives. So basically, he's on a time constraint, just like in the King of New York. He has to go in to the Ghostlands and get the governor's adopted granddaughter. The governor's played by Bill Moseley. The granddaughter's played by Sophia Botella. And she's very beautiful and has a really cool presence. I never heard of her. Yeah, or they'll start blowing up parts of him, like his testicles, head, his arms. So he has 5 days altogether, but starting on 3 days, he's going to have some injuries. So it's like Snake Plissken's, similar situation with a collar or whatever. By the way, this is a Kikaider shirt. You guys know about Kikaider? Kikaider is one of the greatest tokusatsu hero characters. These were live action superhero TV series in Japan in the 1970s. They were way ahead of North America on the superhero being a viable commercial hit. Really way ahead. I mean, there was Batman, I guess, But then there was movies like Diabolic. And then Tokusatsu rose, and all America had was Wonder Woman, and later The Incredible Hulk. For that whole decade, Japan was filled with superhero shows. Some were hits, some weren't. Some were incredibly imaginative, some weren't. So I'll do a Tokusatsu thing at some point. But anyway, this is one of my favorite characters. I have a few figures of him as well. And I just dug this shirt out because it's comfortable, because it's hot as hell here in my fan. But yeah, Cage, he seems a little uncomfortable being in the movie. At the same time, he's got this kind of fucking attitude, which I guess adds to his charm for some people. I wouldn't say he's phoning it in, but he seems indifferent to the material. His character seems to wake up out of a trance about 2/3 through the movie, because allegedly he's now trying to redeem himself and save the girl and her little sister. There's an homage to Django in this. The little girl, his sister, grabs a Gatling gun and starts mowing down samurais. There's a samurai character Yasuhiro. Sometimes he's on the side of the governor, sometimes he's on the side of Nicolas Cage. I can't remember if they give Nicolas Cage his name. He says his nameless, and they start calling him Hero. He does save Ghost Town. He loses a testicle and a function of his arm. They blow up at various points when he violates the rules. Bill Moseley ends up getting killed. Bill Moseley's kind of awful in this. I mean, he's okay. I mean, his character's not much to it. So the periods where he doesn't kind of do the kind of shtick he does with I'll get to it. Otis and Chop Top. Those two characters, he has this kind of identical crazy voice, which a lot of people love. I mean, I thought it was really funny when I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And I didn't like 10,000 Corpses or whatever it was called. I did love Devil's Rejects, though his character is very obnoxious and annoying, but that's part of it. He's supposed to be a total asshole and a degenerate. So they bring that point home, and Moseley performs pretty well in that scenario. But then they foolishly continued with Three from Hell, and he's just fucking obnoxious in that movie, and Richard Brake is too. That was a horrible film, but Moseley does some of that kind of whining, crazy voice over the top. He's got a white beard, but he doesn't have long hair. He just wears this hat. So I'm like, is he gonna do Otis, Driftwood? I mean, what? The less he was in it, the better. I'm sure he's a great guy in person. Oh, excuse me. I saw him at a Mad Monster Party convention, but I didn't go to talk to him. It's just, I know he's got the talent to do other kinds of modes, and these directors aren't giving him that. They're falling back on that shtick that everybody thinks is funny, when most times it's just really annoying. Action is okay in this movie. I mean, to me, it's a very shallow and empty movie. I expected better from Sion Sono. I know Sion Sono is kind of postmodern, and he's not above sending up tropes from Japanese genre cinema. But I think that's when I just think he goes from the sublime Suicide Club to the ridiculous with this 20-year span. Okay, so then the next one I saw was, what was it called? Dark August, from 1976, I think, 6. Dark August was an American independent horror film. It's pretty accomplished in its directing. I have to say, I had never heard of it. Came completely out of left field. It's very well made. The pacing is very kind of odd. I don't want to say it's slow, but it at times it drags out certain character bits that maybe didn't need to be drug out as long as they were, and loses focus of the overarching plot. I think it's because they're trying to just have these quiet moments and develop these characters, maybe so you feel for them more when they go through this hell. But I don't know. The main character, Sal, played by J.J. Barry, and I wasn't familiar with him. He co-wrote the screenplay with the director Martin Goldman and a woman named Carolyn Shalin. The only actor of note in it, is known as Kim Hunter. Everyone else is pretty much, unknowns. So Sal DeVito's like an artist, and he comes to this quiet town in Stowe, Vermont, and he sets up a studio. He's an artist. He's got a lot of demons. He's going through a really bad divorce. He doesn't see his kids much. He doesn't fit in this town. He does find a lover very quickly, and they get along really great and have a lot of sex. And that's, shown very at length, and which is fine. But, shortly after he moved, he accidentally ran over this little girl who ran from the field right into his truck. But, he felt guilty about it. He felt horrible. He didn't feel as fucked up as some people would, though. And people took that outwardly. People took that as he doesn't care. But what can he do? They didn't send him to prison. It was an accident. They didn't get him for manslaughter. So her angry grandfather is really kind of a dope. I mean, he's like, what's the actor's name? William Robertson. So this guy, Ned McDermott, he is the grandfather of the girl who died. And the movie opens with him casting a spell. And I like the way it's done. I like the way the spell and ritual and occult parts are done. I like any movie that shows those things in detail, whether they're accurate or inaccurate or made up for that world, as long as they're not cheesy or as long as they're not as long as they're handled seriously, and there's some internal logic. A recent movie I loved like that was I think it's called A Dark Song, maybe a British one, and the ritual stuff was fantastic. Yeah, I really love that stuff because I've been close to ritual magicians and witches, and it's fascinating. I participated in a few rituals, but not many. Only had a couple of my own. They're solitary. But, I write about it constantly. Some of my major characters are indeed sorcerers and witches. So he's a layman sorcerer. So he does the spell, and he has this little kind of clay thing. It's kind of like the ones Majara had in Don't Torture a Duckling, which, by the way, that review I did recently, I think it turned out pretty good. You should check it out. It's getting pretty popular, which makes me feel good. But anyway, so the guy's got the whole thing, but it takes quite a long time into the movie for him to be found out. Predictably, he harasses Sal, and every time it gets kind of out of control, police come, or these kind of rednecks come, and of course everyone blames Sal for everything, no matter what he does. And finally he's told to, he meets a real witch, played by Kim Hunter, and they do part of a ritual, and they tell Sal he's got to go to his studio and burn it to the ground, and recite a spell, because that's where the shadowy figure haunting him first appeared. That's what Grandpa has summoned. You periodically see Grandpa, but you periodically see this hooded, imposing figure, and it's kind of cool. I mean, a little reminiscent of the Dark Stranger and Messiah of Evil, which some Lovecraftian personages at one time or another have equated with Nyarlathotep. I don't relate this character. I wouldn't call it a character, really. It's like a phantasm. No relation to the films. and it's driving Sal nuts. And of course, so he burns down his studio, but the firemen come and he tries to stop him. So naturally, he gets arrested. Everyone in town just hates this guy, and he doesn't want to stay there. I think he needs to take his girlfriend and just maybe not go back to New York where his ex-wife is, but go somewhere. I mean, he does everything. Excuse me, it's not y'all or the subject matter. He does everything but, utter, I can tell when I'm unwanted, storm off. But he would be totally within his rights to do that. And basically, while they're doing the final ritual, Grandpa comes in and shoots Tim Hunter right through the back and come out through the heart. What a whack job. So they attack him, smack the hell out of him, he runs, and then his phantasm, his hooded creature that he summoned, I guess feels like he's violated the pact in some way. He turns on him, you don't see what he does to him, but with the screaming kind of impression that Ben McDermott is no longer in this world. And then things seem okay, but then Sal begins thinking he's seeing the vision again. He goes out with his dog exploring. And it seems with a gun too, and it seems like it's his imagination. And he's about to kind of resign himself to that. Like just that his mind hasn't adjusted to the fact that this creature has been expelled. But then a Fulci's came later. I'm not saying it. Fulci ripped this off. But it reminded me of Emily and Dickie when Emily's calling out to Spike and the spirits, which manifest as zombies and beyond. And she's like, Spike, I know you're there. And she's like with Dickie, and then some zombies come, and she's like, get him, Dickie. And Dickie's like tearing up the zombies. And then he turns around and he gets possessed. And she's like, no, Dickie, no. And he rips out his mistress's throat very graphically. Chomps on those muscles and nerves in the neck. So yeah, the moment when Sal's about to let it go, you kind of can tell he's a really good actor. Like J.J. Barry, he's got a lot of nuance in his face and his body language. And his dog turns around. His dog, I guess, is possessed by the Force. The dog tries to kill him, tries to eat him, tries to do a Dickie on him. And he ends up killing the dog. And it's sad. And then he kind of slumps to the ground. And like I say, it's slow. It's not the kind of pacing you'd normally expect. And I like that. I like that. It adds a realism to it and a grittiness and an emotional verisimilitude. And then he slumps to the ground and he starts petting the dog. Now, the dog has the makeup on from the wound, but the dog hasn't died yet. And it's the real dog, not a thing they made, But the real dog isn't wounded. He's just kind of like chilling, and breathing and sticking his tongue out. And he's doing deep breaths. So, Sal starts petting him there on his side where you can really see his vast breath. And they probably got the dog worked up, or maybe the dog's like a really good actor. And the dog was a pretty good actor. I will say that. I always like animal actors. Like Dickie is a genius to me, if thespian is of the canine world. I mean, Benji, he's okay. I'll take Dickie any day. This dog, I don't remember his character's name, and they didn't credit him, which I never like it when they don't credit the animals. Not fair. So he's dying, and in fact, he's still breathing. It's but he's no longer possessed, I guess, and Sal feels this horrible guilt. I mean, it's really the facial expression and the body language, and he doesn't slump down when you think he's going to slump down. He doesn't touch Dickie. Whoops. His dog where and when you think he is, but it's very naturalistic, and he pets the fur on his side. I don't have a dog, but I've got a cat. And petting the fur on their side when they're really laying out, chilling, and open to you it's really a nice sensual experience. Their fur is really awesome. and you kind of feel their heartbeat, and it's another living creature. So this is the living creature on its way out of this world, kind of like Grandpa. So Grandpa's spell did linger, but why did it linger? So there's some questions in here about what the hell is about. I don't think it's a deep, heavy movie, but I don't think it's a lightweight movie by any means either. I think it's ambitious, and it's really trying to be realistic about the character's emotions being caught in this supernatural crossfire. So anyway, finally the camera settles on a cut, and Sal's starting to cry. So an incomplete conclusion, an inconclusive conclusion. I liked it though. I liked it a lot. I wouldn't say it's a classic, even of its type, but it is notable for its type. I have the book Nightmare USA about independent horror and genre filmmaking from like the 60s to the 80s. It's this huge, thick tome by the great film writer Stephen Thrower, who was once in the awesome industrial band Coil. And I haven't plowed through all of Nightmare USA to this day, so I'm sure Dark August is in there. So I'm going to look it up and see what he allows. So no need to really have a long episode. I was going to do one more, but what the hell. So I want to thank everyone for listening. I want to thank watching. I want to thank everyone for all the views and all the likes I'm finally getting, and I really appreciate it. It's amazing. I'm gradually fighting the tide of the algorithms. Please smash that like button. Please subscribe. My subscriptions are gradually increasing too. I want to help you have as many people as possible. To spread the word, whatever. In the future, I will be getting to comics reviews. I have a bunch shot, but I just haven't debuted them. I decided when I did the Doctor Strange video, and it was like 2 hours and 45 minutes long, and still hasn't gotten 100 views. I was like, yeah, I need to lay off the Marvel and the superheroes and the comic book inspired stuff for a while. It's not. I wanted to have an audience, but it doesn't have the audience that the other stuff I do does. The personal stuff and the film stuff here in Blue Review. So I'm going to kind of back off it for a while. I will be reviewing Thor: Love and Thunder because I have to see that in the theater. That's a must. So I probably won't be doing any of that kind of material till then. But I will do some graphic novels, and I will do an entire series that I'm working on, which I've already shot 5 episodes for. And I will be doing, some political stuff. And I will be announcing that the political show, whenever I finally settle on it, I'm pretty sure I'm going to co-opt the title that I used for some of my arbitrary interludes, which was Things That Need to Be Said. And I think more than ever, a lot of them need to be said. So, thank you to channel patron Shelly Druckrey, Drew Dahmer, and the amazing Tim Tolbert. Shout out to some friends, Sean Lee Levin, Tim McLean, Nicola Nazarino, Mick Cantone. They're around, they're helping out, they're supportive. It's been a hard time. Like that guy sang in that Masters of Reality song. It's been a sad time. It has. It's been a sad time for me, for the world. So let's watch some movies and trip out and try to enjoy the time we have left. Oh, rock on.